Let me tell you about Marco Vitelli, the most powerful man in Chicago. He owned half the city by age 35. Politicians feared him. Businessmen bowed to him. Women threw themselves at his feet every single night. But Marco had a secret that ate him alive. He couldn't love anyone. Not because he was cruel or heartless. No, it was worse than that. Marco's father once told him something terrible: the moment you love someone, son, they become your weakness. And in our world, weakness gets you killed. Marco watched his father's words prove true when he was just 12 years old. His uncle fell in love with a baker's daughter. 3 months later, rival families kidnapped her. They sent her back in pieces. So Marco built walls around his heart. Steel walls. Concrete walls. Walls so thick that nothing could get through. He dated countless women. Beautiful actresses. Smart lawyers. Elegant dancers. But the moment any of them wanted more than dinner and champagne, Marco disappeared. He ghosted them. Blocked their numbers. Erased them from his life like they never existed. His men whispered about it. They wondered if their boss even had a heart. Everything changed on a rainy Tuesday in October. Marco was driving through the South Side, checking on one of his restaurants. He hated this neighborhood. Too poor. Too broken. Too much like the place where he grew up before money changed everything. His stomach growled. He hadn't eaten since breakfast, and it was almost 9 at night. He spotted a tiny diner on the corner. The kind of place with flickering lights and cracked windows. Not his usual scene, but he was starving. The bell above the door rang when he walked in. The place was nearly empty. Just an old man reading a newspaper and a woman wiping down tables. She looked up. Marco forgot how to breathe. She wasn't beautiful in the magazine way. Her uniform was worn and stained. Her hair was tied back in a messy ponytail. She had bags under her eyes like she hadn't slept in days. But something about her face stopped his heart. She smiled at him. A real smile. Not the fake ones women gave him when they saw his expensive suit. "Sit anywhere you'd like," she said. Her voice was tired but kind. Marco sat in a booth by the window. His hands were shaking. He never shook. Not during deals. Not during fights. Not even when guns were pointed at his head. The waitress brought him water and a menu. Her name tag said Elena. "Do you know what you want?" she asked. Marco stared at the menu without seeing it. "What's good here?" Elena laughed. It sounded like music. "Honestly? Nothing's amazing. But the meatloaf won't kill you, and the coffee's strong enough to wake the dead. I'll take both." She wrote it down and started to walk away. Marco heard himself speak before he could stop it. "You work here every night?" Elena turned back. She studied his face carefully. Most women looked at Marco and saw money and power. Elena looked at him like she was trying to figure out if he was trustworthy. "Most nights," she finally said. "I work 3 jobs. This is the night shift." 3 jobs? Rent doesn't pay itself. She shrugged. Plus my brother's sick. Medical bills keep piling up. Something cracked inside Marco's chest. Marco came back the next night. And the night after that. And the night after that. He always ordered the same thing. Meatloaf and coffee. He always sat in the same booth. And he always waited for Elena to take her break so they could talk. She told him about her life in pieces. How her parents died in a car accident when she was 19. How she raised her little brother Tommy by herself. How Tommy got leukemia last year and the insurance company refused to cover his treatment. "He's only 15, Elena said one night, her voice breaking. "He should be playing basketball and chasing girls. Instead, he's hooked up to machines, throwing up from chemotherapy." Marco wanted to fix it. He could write a check right now and pay for everything. But he knew Elena would refuse. She had pride. He respected that. How do you keep going? He asked. Elena smiled sadly. What choice do I have? Tommy needs me. So I work. I fight. I don't give up. Marco realized something terrifying. He was falling in love with this woman. His men noticed the change. Victor, his right-hand man, finally asked about it. Boss, what's going on? You've been disappearing every night. You're distracted during meetings. Is everything okay? Marco wanted to lie. But Victor had been with him for 15 years. He deserved the truth. I met someone. Victor's eyes went wide. You? Met someone? Boss, you don't do relationships. You've never done relationships. I know. So what's different about this girl? Marco thought about Elena's smile. The way she looked at him like he was just a regular man, not a monster in an expensive suit. The way she made him want to be better. Everything, Marco said quietly. Everything's different. Victor looked worried. Boss, remember what your father said. Love makes you weak. Love gets people killed. I remember. Then why are you doing this? Marco met his old friend's eyes. Because maybe my father was wrong. Maybe love doesn't make you weak. Maybe it makes you strong enough to protect what matters. But deep down, fear gnawed at Marco's stomach. What if his father was right? 2 weeks later, Elena's world fell apart. Marco arrived at the diner and found it dark. Closed. A handwritten sign on the door said, "Family emergency." His blood ran cold. He called his tech guy immediately. Find Elena Martinez. Find her now. 10 minutes later, he had an address. County General Hospital. Intensive care unit. Marco broke every speed limit getting there. He found Elena in the waiting room, crying into her hands. Her uniform was still on. She looked like she'd aged 10 years. Elena. She looked up. Her eyes were red and swollen. Marco? What are you doing here? I heard. What happened? Tommy collapsed at school. They rushed him here, but the cancer spread. It's in his brain now. Her voice cracked. The doctors say he needs an experimental treatment. It costs $300,000. Insurance won't cover it. I have $6,000 in savings. I don't know what to do. She broke down completely. Marco pulled her into his arms. She sobbed against his chest while he held her tight. I'll take care of it, he whispered. Elena pulled back. What? No. Marco, I can't. You can. I'm paying for Tommy's treatment. All of it. That's $300,000. I know. I could never pay you back. Marco cupped her face gently. I'm not asking you to. Let me help you. Please. Elena stared at him. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Why? Why would you do this for us? You barely know me. This was the moment. Marco could lie. Make up some story about charity or kindness. But Elena deserved the truth. Because I'm in love with you, he said. I've been in love with you since the first night I walked into that diner. And I know you don't feel the same way. I know you probably think I'm crazy. But I can't watch you suffer when I have the power to stop it. Elena's eyes went wide. You love me? Yes. But you are, and I'm just. You're everything, Marco said fiercely. You're the bravest, strongest, most beautiful person I've ever met. So yes, I love you. And I'm paying for Tommy's treatment whether you like it or not. The treatment worked. Tommy responded better than doctors expected. Within 3 weeks, he was sitting up in bed, joking with nurses, and asking for hamburgers. Elena cried happy tears for the first time in months. She also spent every free moment with Marco. They talked for hours. She learned about his childhood in poverty. How he built his empire from nothing. She didn't ask about the dark parts of his business, and he didn't volunteer the information. One night, sitting in the hospital cafeteria, Elena took his hand. "I love you too," she whispered. Marco's heart stopped. "What? I love you. I think I've loved you since that second night when you came back to the diner. I just didn't let myself believe it." She smiled. "You're a good man, Marco Vitelli. Whatever else you are, you're good where it counts." Marco kissed her then. Soft and gentle. Like she might break. But in the shadows outside the hospital, someone watched them through a camera lens. Someone who recognized Marco Vitelli. Someone who saw an opportunity. His name was Dmitry Volkov. Marco's biggest rival. The Russian mob boss who'd been trying to take over Marco's territory for 2 years. Dmitry smiled as he looked at the photos. Marco Vitelli, the man who never loved anyone, kissing a poor waitress in a hospital cafeteria. This was perfect. Better than perfect. He made a phone call. "I found his weakness," Dmitry said. "Get me everything on Elena Martinez. Where she lives. Where she works. Where her brother goes to school. I want to know everything." 2 days later, Elena was closing up the diner alone. It was almost midnight. She locked the front door and headed for the parking lot. A black van pulled up beside her. Men in masks jumped out. Elena screamed. She fought. She kicked one man in the knee and scratched another's face. But there were too many of them. They threw a bag over her head and shoved her into the van. The last thing Elena heard before everything went dark was a man's voice with a thick Russian accent. "Marco Vitelli's going to learn a very important lesson. Love is weakness. And weakness gets you killed." Marco got the call at 3 in the morning. An unknown number. A video message. He pressed play with shaking hands. Elena was tied to a chair in a dark warehouse. Blood dripped from a cut on her forehead. Dmitry Volkov stood behind her, smiling at the camera. "Hello, Marco. I have something that belongs to you. If you want her back alive, you'll give me everything. Your territories. Your businesses. Your money. Everything." Dmitry pulled out a knife. He pressed it against Elena's throat. "You have 24 hours. Come alone to the old factory on River Road at midnight tomorrow. No police. No backup. Just you. Or I'll send her back to you in pieces, just like your uncle's girlfriend." The video ended. Marco sat in the dark, his mind racing. His father's voice echoed in his head. "Love makes you weak. Love gets people killed." But as Marco loaded his gun and called his most trusted men, he realized something. His father was wrong. Love didn't make him weak. Love made him absolutely terrifying. And Dmitry Volkov was about to learn why nobody touched Marco Vitelli's family and lived to tell about it. To be continued.